Hi, and welcome to The Gist. A while ago, we wrote about the amazing gift of language that's unique to our species and how it shapes our minds. Given how important speech and writing are to our lives, it's worth pausing to examine if we can do both more mindfully. Today, we explore some key elements of day to day communication. Speaking with others. Of course, interacting with people is what we think of most commonly as communication. It's important to note the subtle difference between talking at someone and speaking with someone. The former is focused on getting our own point across. The latter is a more open dialogue that evolves with the other person. It's a shared experience that we shape together rather than two parties talking past one another. Whether one on one or especially in a group, a useful acronym to keep communication in check is WAIT, WAIT, which stands for Why Am I Talking? We can also ask ourselves, do I have some new information to add? Am I speaking to clarify or reflect back what I've heard? To empathize or encourage? Over time, we might realize that too often we're speaking just for the sake of it, without adding value, or repeating what has already been said. Imagine if we had a cap on how much we could talk in a day, say a quota of just 1,000 words. Would we use words more constructively? Would we be more honest, upfront, or selective with what we say? Listening carefully. We all know how wonderful it feels to be listened to. It's a treat to have someone focused on our words without distraction. But how often do we deeply listen to other people without preconceived notions or a ready response? When we make a conscious effort to listen better, it's quite remarkable how the quality of conversation changes. Personally, I usually learn more and understand clearly what the other person has on their mind. And instead of jumping in with a reaction or a solution, I try to pause, reflect, and keep listening. Sometimes people have thoughts that may never surface because we interject our own ideas too quickly. My children, for example, come up with their own solutions to a problem or generate creative ideas simply because I'm a sounding board, not a contributor to the discussion. Certainly in marriage and romantic relationships, we often think we can read our partner's minds or finish their sentences, but there's always something new to learn. By listening without interruption, we signal to our partners an open heartedness that's the cornerstone of loving conversation. Quietening self talk. Of course, we don't often think of this as communication, but what we say to ourselves is as important as what we say to others. Our internal state of mind directly impacts how we speak. Communication rooted in a chaotic mind can come across as disjointed or hurried. As within, so without. Our thoughts can also distract us from listening well and fully engaging in a discussion. Who amongst us hasn't drifted off into our own thoughts during a chat with a family member or in a work meeting? Taking time to gather ourselves before we enter into conversation can create the kind of mental spaciousness we need to attend to meaningful dialogue. This might mean building in some time for a walk, a quiet cup of tea, or simply some solitude to clear our heads before we interact with others. Writing as therapy. Writing is an important form of communication and connection, be it old-fashioned letters, emails, or texts. So it's vital to ask some of the same critical questions as when we speak to people. Long, confusing, or poorly thought out writing can lead to misunderstanding. As with speech, clarity and brevity in writing are helpful. Writing as a form of self inquiry is also very beneficial. Many people keep a journal, and while it's not for everyone, I've found it immensely therapeutic. Sometimes, when I'm trying to work out a problem or make a decision, putting pen to paper allows me to make better assessments. I also like using the journal as a forum to express myself freely, a space to download negative thoughts so that I don't carry them around, and equally a space to record all the many positive things in life. A journal offers a method of communication all its own, allowing us to nurture and support ourselves. Like many aspects of mindful living, setting an intention to observe and adjust our communication styles is a wonderful first step towards living more harmoniously. By pausing a little more often and being curious about what other people have to say, we can transform our conversations and enrich both our relationships and our internal dialogue at the same time. On that note, wishing you a great week ahead, be well, and see you next time on The Gist.